Hey cats, it's your old buddy EDDBUD here. For ages and ages, viewers of the channel have been requesting that I review a shoe from Skechers, so today I'm going to do just that. An initial review of the Skechers GOrun Speed Elite Hyper. You can tell it's fast because it's got the word speed written on it. Really don't like that bit about the shoe. Finally, a Skechers shoe on the channel. Is it a hyperspace experience or a misfiring lawnmower engine? Runners United, let's roll out. Only 201 grams in my UK size 11. That's about 7.1 ounces for the US size 12. Makes this shoe, I think, possibly about the third lightest in my collection. And you know I have quite a few. I think it's somewhere between the Run Fast Pro from Reebok, maybe the Takumi Sen 7, and the Puma Liberate Nitro as well. That's the light gang. They're all members of that light gang. A 4mm drop here and apparently 23mm of heel stack. It certainly is a shoe where you feel very close to the ground and the terrain. You can almost feel the soil underneath your feet. That's a bit of an overstatement. You can't feel the soil, but you catch my drift, right? Quite excited to see how this shoe holds up against some of the full plated offerings. This is only like a sort of couple of bits in the front which act like a plate. I think they call them wings or something like that. Sounds faster, doesn't it? Sounds like you're flying. I picked this one up on a discount actually for 123 Earth credits from sportshoes.com. So it's not been sent to me or anything like that. I've just picked it up with my own cash as per usual. A mesh glove of exceptional comfort. I don't think there's a millimetre more of upper here than is needed. The toe box and the lockdown have a real race fit. It certainly does feel like a shoe that you put on and you want to burn it. I've got to say the whole shoe's quite well made. I was quite surprised taking it out of the box. I don't know whether that's just preconceived ideas about Skechers shoes and things. I mean, the only time I ever get to go to a Skechers store in the UK, it's just these sort of lower end shoes, you know, walk-in shoes, just casual stuff. They have no idea in the shops about any of the performance range, so it's really tough to get them here in the UK. I know a lot of the US viewers have said, EDDBUD, you know, why haven't you reviewing Skechers shoes? Well, they're just not easy to get hold of. Not the running performance ones anyway. There's no glue streaks or bits that are poorly fitted. It's just quite a well put together shoe. Certainly all aspects though of the upper are minimised to try and make the shoe as light as it can possibly be. I think if anything it reminds me a little bit of the Hyperion Tempo from Brooks, but with a much more aggressive design ethic. They've just pulled apart any bits that aren't necessary and chucked them in the bin. Nicely padded foam around the heel there, but there's no heel collar. It literally is just super flexible. That might be a good thing to you, that might be a terrible thing to you. Some people like a nice structured heel. I don't mind really, I'm on the fence. Just a bit of light reinforcement where the lace eyelets are, and the laces have just enough length, which pretty much completes the upper masterclass. Skechers, where have you been all my life? I mean, are they all like this, guys? Are they all really well put together uppers? I do remember reading a few stories that they can be quite varied, quite variable in terms of the upper quality and the fit. But this one certainly is high up in the rankings. I think this one's probably true to size for me. I had no issues with it rubbing. I just laced the shoes up and off I went. So after my initial run, I'm going to give this a 2.8 out of 3 for the upper. Very, very promising start. If it's your first time here at the channel and you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and click the bell for notifications of when those new videos are launched. It also really helps us out here if you give this video a thumbs up like with the YouTube algorithm and all that stuff.
Midsole now.
It's a bit of a tale of two technologies here. You got this sort of springy packing foam type material, so it feels like to me at least, the Skechers Hyper Burst. A lot of people said to me that it was very similar to DNA Flash that you find on the Brooks shoes, but I find it quite different really. I don't know whether it's the implementation here, but a compressive material, I didn't seem to get an awful lot back from it on my initial run. And that carbon plate is absolutely rock solid. It's very, very rigid. I say the carbon plate, I know it's in two pieces, but there's a lot of rigidity there. Yeah. Need to get down to the gym again. I think, if anything, this is close to the Meta Racer from Asics. That upper really does need to work well with this shoe because the front of the midsole is just so rigid. The run today was 10 by 400 meter repeats with about 2 minutes of jog recovery in between. Managed to hit around about 1 minute 30 for each of those 400 meter repeats, so that's about between 6 minutes per mile and about 6 minutes 15 per mile, so about 3 minutes 53 per kilometre to about 3:44 per kilometre. So I was certainly getting just under my 5k paces on those repeats, which is ideal really for someone who's feeling pretty tired. When I checked on Strava, there were some similar performances on the same run when I used the Rebel 2. A little bit lower in terms of pace than the Takumi Sen 7 and the Vaporfly Nax% 2. I really enjoy using Strava for that because you can quickly look at some of the repeat paces, some of the interval paces that you did on the last effort. I try to keep those sessions over the same terrain as well, the same exact route. So you've got some good opportunity for comparison. Certainly a very stable feel. It wasn't exactly what I was expecting it to be. There's a little bit of rebound there, but it's certainly a shoe that you want to run fast in. It didn't feel completely alien running those slower sort of recoveries, the warm-up and the cool-down. Again, close to the Meta Racer from Asics, but I think actually the upper fit's actually better on this shoe than the Asics shoe. Almost like a lighter and minimised version of the original Zoom Fly from Nike. I wouldn't suggest it's that close to the Rocket X from Hoka. I think these two shoes have very different properties. Though I don't think I'd want to run a half marathon in this shoe. Probably up to 10k is probably the sweet spot for me. Maybe 10 miles. I don't think I'd want to go any further than that. I'm not strong enough for it. I'm just not quite there yet. It could work if you're an extremely efficient runner. I think about 10 miles, probably the max I'd want to run in it. Not the most versatile of midsoles, you have to be honest. I think this is a shoe that you probably want to pick up if you're looking for a super light race option. If you can pick it up on a deal, I think it's probably worth it, but I'm going to reduce the midsole value a little bit. I think I'm going to give it a 2.2 out of 3 for the midsole after my initial run. I mean, there's a reasonable amount of foam there, but you just don't really feel it. Quite a niche setup that I think will work really well for some people and just will not work at all for others. Outsole now. I was excited to try out the Goodyear rubber. You know, I'm really into outsole rubber. I'm a sole man. And it lived up to the expectations on a saturated, very, very wet route today. Though I was a little bit worried about the huge amount of exposed midsole material here on the outsole. Skechers have obviously aimed to minimise the weight as much as they can here by just having the rubber absolutely where you need it and nowhere else. It's a really sticky compound as well that Goodyear have let them utilise here on the bottom of the Speed Elite. I think it was probably the ultimate torture test today for the rubber, and it held up very, very well. Obviously going at some higher paces, there are times when you can perhaps feel a little bit anxious perhaps about your foot strike, you know, is my foot going to slide here? But not once did I have any problems. I was really up in the cadence as well today. I think I was getting up into about 200 steps per minute, which is quite a lot for the old EDDBUD giraffe legs. I think it's going to gouge and grind down the exposed midsole material here. There's already some damage here from some of the gravel and stones on the route today. But yeah, certainly the Goodyear worked out just fine. I think this is a higher tempo training shoe and a race shoe, so it's probably a little less reliance on durability and longevity here. Certainly an outsole geared up for road use. I think if you're going to use it on gravel, expect it to wear down very quickly. Stones are just going to trash that midsole material. There's some stuff embedded in there already. In the wet weather, the rubber gripped the concrete like tacky chewing gum that had been heated up with a hairdryer. Or a bit like the wrapper of a Chew It sweet that you've left in your pocket a little bit too long. No slipping or sliding today at those higher paces, so you can tick that box. After my initial run, I think I'll give the outsole a 2.6 out of 3. Just be ready for that foam to take a real pounding, even after a few miles. It's time to talk value. So I think at £123, or Earth credits, or whatever you want to call them, this presents some pretty good value actually if you're after a race shoe. If you don't want to shell out some serious dough for the Vaporfly offerings, for a Hoka model perhaps. Well, you can't even find the top line Adidas race models at the moment, can you? They just aren't for sale. So I think if you're after something for a 5 or 10k, ideal. It's super light as well. You know, I really enjoy a nice light shoe for faster paced work. It's even lighter than the Puma Liberate Nitro, though I would suggest the foam in the Liberate Nitro is far more forgiving than the Hyperburst that you've got here. And it's of course way less rigid because we've got no carbon pieces in that midsole. I think as an out-and-out race shoe, if you like those firmer, sort of more rebound style materials, like Phylon perhaps, or DNA Flash, then this could be right up your alley. It could be your cup of tea. Could be a good entry point into the carbon game as well if you haven't got one so far. Quality-wise, I'm impressed. I wouldn't hesitate in trying out another Skechers shoe in the future. I think it certainly won me over in terms of its presentation. I mean, the box and everything, it just looks like quite a, you know, higher end item. It's got some innovative tech there and a bit of va-va-voom. It's not the same old plate and soft springy foam combo that we've grown a bit tired of. I think Skechers in the past have been accused of like copying other shoe manufacturers' tech, but I simply don't see it here. They've certainly gone out and done their own thing, and I applaud them for that. How will the Goodyear rubber hold up over time? Only time will tell. But on all the other reports I see about this shoe, there's no major problems with that. Certainly a better value, ultra-light offering is hard to find really at this price. Not the best shoe for versatility, but I think at this price, if you're after a race shoe, you can't really lose. But it's not for everyone. I think if you want gallons of cushion, you'll have to look elsewhere. I'll give it a value score of 2.5 out of 3 after my initial run. So I think if I've totaled the scores up correctly, that gives us a 10.1 out of 12 for the Skechers GOrun Speed Elite Hyper. Have I got that right? So have you tested this shoe out, or do you own it? Do you enjoy it? Is it a rate or a hate? Let me know down in the comments. Musical interlude time. I dug back out my super old copy of Johnny Cash at Folsom Prison. In terms of live albums, I think this is a classic. There's so many good ones on here. I really love the track I Still Miss Someone. I can remember hearing that for the very first time. I remember exactly where I was. 25 minutes to go and the Orange Blossom special were just perfection. Johnny Cash like distilled into a couple of tunes. The version of Jackson on here as well with June Carter is worth getting the album for anyway. I think it's a really good partner album as well to the San Quentin live album. That's got some equally brilliant tunes on. The Wreck of Old 97. Now that is a great tune. I remember listening to the original version of that, but Johnny Cash's live one on the San Quentin album is just perfect. No messing about there. Johnny Cash live at Folsom Prison. Go and listen to it right now if you haven't done so before. Okay, thanks for sticking with me to the end, guys. I very much appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications when I launch those new videos. And it does help the channel out too. You give this video a thumbs up, like, and share this video with your running buddies. My name's EDDBUD, and I'll be seeing you